Hi friends, welcome to the channel The Nurse. Here we are discussing about anatomy and physiology latest questions and answers with rationale. In this video, we will include mainly anatomy and physiology of musculoskeletal system and gastrointestinal system. So we will go to our topics. Before that, if you are planning to write nursing tutor exams, you can join in our nursing tutor exam model test series in our Android application, The Nurse Academy. Also, we have a model test series for Bark Nurse A exam preparations. So you can also join in our model test series, Baba Atomic Research Nurse A post model test series through in our Android app, that is the Nurse Academy. That is from you can download it from Play Store. We'll go to the topic anatomy and physiology questions and answers that would be helpful for preparing ESIC Staff Nurse exam, upcoming Nursing Tutor exam, etc. So first question, which bone of the head has a synovial joint? The sphenoid bone, the maxilla, the mandible, the hyoid. Correct answer is mandible. Mandible joint is an example of synovial joint. Synovial joint means there will be a synovial cavity. The joint is covered with synovial cavity and there will be a synovial fluid in between the bones. It will reduce the friction of bones. So that will move, that will helps to move the bone. So there are several kind of joints in our body. Synovial joints, hinge joints. Hinge joints means that is like that is example is a knee and elbow joints that will move like a door. So there will be a hinge like movement will be there. That is elbow and knee movement. And there will be another joint. It is known as pivot joint. Pivot joint usually it is atlantoaxial joints are example of pivot joint. Wrist joints are examples of pivot joint. And there will be another condyloid joint. The joints of index fingers is an example of a condyloid joint, and there will be an immovable joints known as fibrous joints. Skull bones are joined together with the fibrous joints, that is immovable, and there will be another joints called cartilaginous joints. The usually vertebrae are joined together with the cartilaginous joints, and another joints is it is known as saddle joints. These are the main joints seen in our human body. So we'll again back to our question. The ramus of the mandible articulates with the temporal bone of the mandibular fossa. The joint is freely movable, allowing us to chew and speak. That means, so this is our mandible bone. So mandible actually it is divided into mainly three parts. First part is this. This part is known as body of the mandible. This part is known as body, and body majority of the mandible, that is body. Then this L type part, it is known as angle of the mandible. This is body. Then this L type curve, that is known as angle of the body. Then the entire part of this mandible is known as ramus. Ramus have one articulating part with the temporal bone, that is condyloid. There is two condyloids. One is in posterior and one is in anterior side. And the posterior side is joined with the temporal bone. That is there is fossa that is known as mandibular fossa that is located in temporal bone. There is the mandible joins together and forms temporomandibular joints. It helps to movement of the mandible bone, and that is mandible bone is helps to helps us to speak and chew. The food items we can chew with the help of mandible bone only. So this is the main function of mandible bone, and this is a one this mandibular joint is example of synovial joints because it is covered with under a synovial cavity, and there will be synovial fluids in between the joint. It will help the movement of the bones. Next question. A synovial joint is also known as one of the following. Which one? A synovial joint is also known as one of the following. Which one? Synarthrosis, immovable joints, slightly movable joints, freely movable joints. Correct answer is freely movable joints. Synovial joint is also known as freely movable joint. Synovial fluid is the lubricant that allows friction-free joint movement. I told you why it is called synovial joints. Means there will be a synovial cavity inside that there will be synovial joints. It will reduce the friction and it helps to the movement of the bones. So that is why it is known as free movable joints. Synarthrosis. One of the option was synarthrosis. Don't confuse with the synovial joints. Synarthrosis means it is an immovable joints. So synovial joints are examples of free movable joints. Synarthrosis means it is a immovable joints. Third question. What does articulation refer to? The joining of a ligament to a bone, the contact made between a tendon and a bone, the contact between two bones, the connection between a muscle and a bone. Correct answer is the contact between two bones. That is the joining part, that is known as articulation surface or articulation. Simply it is known as articulation. The contact between two bones, it is known as articulation. The articulation means joint between two bones. So it is known as articulation or articulation surface. Then fourth question, articulating bones are joined by. Two articulating bones are joined by aponeurosis, tendons, fasciculae, ligaments. Two articulating bones are joined together by ligaments with the help of ligaments. So this is the example of our knee joints. So knee joints mainly there is two main types of ligaments, that is anterior cruciating ligaments and posterior cruciating ligaments. So usually the sports injury and during the sports injury and all, there will be an injury to ACL tear or PCL tear. So that is due to the ligament injury. So these ligaments held together, the femur and tibia are held together by these ligaments, or anywhere the bones are held together by these ligaments. Ligaments join bone to bone. That is important. Ligaments joining bone to bone, same time bone to muscle, that is joined by tendons. Bone to muscle, that is tendons. Ligaments means it is helps to bind together bones to bone. Fifth question, which one of the following is an amphiarthrotic joint? Symphysis pubis, suture in the skull, elbow, shoulder. Amphiarthrotic means it is having a dual function or a dual role. So correct answer is symphysis pubis. Symphysis pubis is partially moving joint. That is why it is known as amphiarthrotic joint. So amphiarthrosis means it is slightly movable. Slightly movable joints are known as amphiarthrosis, whereas synovial joints are freely movable. Synovial joints is freely movable. Amphiarthrosis means that is slight movement possible. In same time, synarthrosis means immovable. So there is three terms: synarthrosis, immovable; amphiarthrosis, slightly movable; synovial joints, freely movable. Suture in the skull is an example of immovable joints, that is joined together fibrous joint. So that is immovable joint. Same time, elbow and shoulder joints are examples of synovial joints. Synovial joints means there will be a synovial cavity and the synovial fluids will be there in between the bones. Sixth question, in a long bone, which of the following parts are involved in an articulation? So for an articulation in the long bone, which parts are involved? Epiphysis, metaphysis, diaphysis, symphysis. In a long bones, epiphysis parts are involved in articulation. So I will explain to you. Epiphysis refers to the end of a long bone. The ends articulate with adjacent bones. So here it is an example of hand. So the ulna and tibia, radius and ulna joined with humerus. So this part, it is epiphyseal part of the ulna and radius, and it is joined with the epiphysis of the humerus. So I will explain with this picture. So here it is given the humerus picture, in that the head of the femur, that is an example of epiphysis. So epiphysis, one lower part, and that is two ends of the bones, long bones, that is epiphysis, and the middle part, that is known as diaphysis. And there will be another term that is called metaphysis. Metaphysis means the joint between epiphysis and diaphysis, that is known as metaphysis. So there will be two metaphyses on each side. So in upper part there is a metaphysis, that is the area between epiphysis and diaphysis. The same time lower part also there will be a metaphysis, that is between epiphysis and diaphysis. So that area is known as metaphysis. Seventh question. Which two bones are involved in the movement known as pronation? Radius and ulna, tibia and fibula, carpals and metacarpals, mandible and temporal bone. Correct answer is radius and ulna. Radius and ulna involved in the movement of pronation. That is known as, that I will show you the movement of pronation. So here it is an example of pronation movement. If the body in an anatomical position, if palm is turning downwards, it is known as pronation. The opposite turning, that is again it is turning to the anatomical position, or palm is upward position, that is known as supination. So pronation means that is twisting of the hand. The twisting of the radius and ulna will be there. That movement is known as pronation. Then again it is moving the same anatomical position, that is known as supination. The palm will face upwards or in front face. That movement is known as supination, and palm is facing downwards or posterior side, that is known as pronation. The bones of the forearm, that is radius and ulna, are able to pronate, that is crossover when the forearm twists. So that kind of movement is known as pronation. Eighth question. What type of joint is between two adjacent vertebral bodies? Cartilaginous, freely movable, synovial, fibrous. So correct answer is cartilaginous joints. Between each vertebrae there is a cartilaginous joint. So what is cartilaginous joints? Adjacent vertebral bodies, there is a separated with intervertebral fibrocartilaginous intervertebral disc. That is why it is known as cartilaginous joint. Hence they are cartilaginous joints. They are not freely movable joints. Because of the peculiar arrangements of the vertebrae, the movement is possible. Otherwise, there is no free movement possible between the vertebrae. So adjacent vertebral bodies are separated by a fibrocartilaginous, that is known as intervertebral disc. That is why it is known as cartilaginous joints. They are not freely movable, but because of the arrangement, one by one arrangement, the bending and all, it is possible by vertebrae. Next question. Which muscle naming criteria are used to name the quadriceps femoris? So there will be some criteria for naming the muscles. So for naming the quadriceps femoris muscle, which criteria is used? Muscle action and location, the origin and insertion, location and direction of muscle fibers, location and number of origin. Correct answer, location and number of origin. The criteria used for naming the quadriceps femoris, that is location and number of origin criteria is used. I will explain to you. The Latin translated femoris. So our muscle name is quadriceps femoris. The femoris name came from the Latin translation of femoris, that is a location on the femoris. The quadriceps femoris location that is on the femur, that is why it is known as femoris. Then quadriceps, the meaning of Latin translation of quadriceps means four-headed, because there will be four different muscles group, that is why it is known as quadriceps. So that four different groups muscles are vastus lateralis, vastus medialis, vastus intermedius, and the last one is rectus femoris. So these four head muscles are joined together and forms quadriceps femoris muscle. From there only it is got the name. The location and origins. The naming criteria is used for quadriceps femoris, that is location and origin. Location, that is on the femur. Origin, that is four-headed, that is vastus lateralis, vastus medialis, vastus intermedius, rectus femoris. That is why it is known as quadriceps. Then related to another question, a naming criteria related question. Which of the following muscle is named according to its origin and insertion? Transversus abdominis, semimembranous, membranosus, sternocleidomastoid, deltoid. Correct answer, sternocleidomastoid. Sternocleidomastoid naming, that is based on its origin and insertion site. So I will explain to you how it is named. The origin of sternocleidomastoid muscle is on the sternum and clavicle. So sternum and clavicle, the origin is from sternum and clavicle. That is why it is the first part is sternocleido. Sterno means related to sternum, cleido means related to clavicle. And the insertion site is mastoid process of the temporal bone. That is why it is full name is sternocleidomastoid muscle. Origin, that is from sternum and the clavicle, that is why sternocleido, and insertion is mastoid process of the temporal bone, that is why full name sternocleidomastoid muscle. Then 11th question, which type of cell products hydrochloric acid? Zymogenic cells, parietal cells, chief cells, endocrine cells. Correct answer, parietal cells. Parietal cells helps to produce hydrochloric acid in stomach. Zymogenic cells and chief cells are same, and it helps to produce pepsin or pepsinogen. The parietal cells of gastric glands produce hydrochloric acid. Same time, zymogenic cells and the chief cells are same, and they produce pepsinogen. Next question. What is the name given to the process of moving the gut contents along the tract in the right direction? Peristalsis, emesis, segmentation, deglutition. Correct answer is peristalsis. Peristalsis movement, that is a unidirectional movement of the food contents through the gastrointestinal tract. Emesis, that is related to vomiting. Segmentation means front and forward and backward movement. It is also a movement, but in that it is a bilateral movement, front, backward and forward movement, that is seen in segmentation. Deglutition means it is another term for swallowing. While segmentation is also a movement, it is a to and fro movement rather than unidirectional. Peristalsis is a unidirectional forward movement only, but in segmentation there will be forward and backward movement. This is an example of forward and backward movement. The red particle is moving forward and coming back. Then 13th question, emulsification is the name of the process carried out by lipase, bile, micelles, lacteals. Correct answer is bile. The emulsification process is carried out by bile. Bile is produced from liver and it is stored in the gallbladder. Then it is released into duodenum through the common bile duct. So in this emulsification, there will be a large fat molecules that is divided into small fat droplets, and this bile prevents again forming the large molecules. It keep the fat molecules in a fat droplets, and it helps to it will make easier digestion and absorption. So that is the role of bile. Bile contains surfactants which congregate on the interface between lipid and water, so prevent a small droplet of fat from aggregating into larger ones. So this bile prevents the small fat droplets to form a large molecules. If it is small molecules means the absorption and digestion will be easier. 14th question. What is the function of gastrin? To facilitate the absorption of vitamin B12 from the gut, to inhibit gastrin secretion, to stimulate gastric secretion, to stimulate pancreatic secretion. Correct answer is to stimulate gastric secretion. To facilitate absorption from vitamin B12 from the gut, we need intrinsic factor in the stomach. To inhibit gastric secretion, we need a hormone known as inhibin. To stimulate gastric secretion, we need gastrin hormone. Gastrin is a hormone that stimulates the cells lining the stomach gastric pits to secrete hydrochloric acid. That is the main gastric secretion. Then lowest pH is found in which of the listed body sites? Pancreas, stomach, duodenum, blood. Correct answer, stomach. Normally the neutral pH is it is in between acidic and alkaline, that is around 7. If it is low means the pH is low means it will be acidic solution. If pH is high means it will be alkaline solutions. So if low pH means it will be more acidic. So in stomach there will be a pH that is less than 2. That is extreme pH, very high level of acidic contents are seen in inside the stomach. But when it is going to intestine's contents will be alkaline. So stomach is having highest pH level, that is less than 2, because of the presence of hydrochloric acid. And when pH is increasing, the acidic level is reduces. Then 7 means it is a neutral pH, and more than 7 means the solution will be alkaline. So that is about today's video. Around 15 questions we have discussed today, and that is from musculoskeletal and gastrointestinal system. If you have any doubts means you can ask in comment section. I will try to solve your doubts. So thank you for watching this video. Please like and share with your friends. Thank you.